Being drunk on your circumstances leads to burnout. It leads to stress. It leads to weight gain. It leads to distance in your marriage. It leads to kids you don't have the connection that you would like with. Maybe think about sobriety in this context as taking ownership of those circumstances. My name is Brian Pannuzzo. I help successful professionals build an elite body and mind without sacrificing work or time with their family. I know your life because I lived it 20 years. Welcome back to the show. This is the Success Lift Podcast, and I'm your host, Brian. I hope you had an amazing Thanksgiving. I hope you had a good, relaxing holiday. Thanksgiving is one of those holidays that we tend to, even though it's a day, it's a 4-hour type of stretch in one particular day. Kind of starts on, Tuesday night into Wednesday, definitely Wednesday night for a lot of people. Friday is usually a half day or a day off. And then it kind of, skirts into the weekend a little bit. And so Thanksgiving typically is a 3, 4, 5 day affair. And I totally get that. Sometimes to the demise of some people because they continue their habits during a 5-day stretch instead of maybe just going all in for 3 or 4 hours on Thursday. But it also gives you some time to relax and to unwind and to disconnect a bit. And aren't those important things for busy professionals to be able to do? So welcome back. Welcome back to the office. Monday, December 1st, the time of this recording dropping. Welcome to December, the last month of the year of 2025. We are officially in the home stretch. But there still is so much time. You have so much time. You have 31 days in order to make some changes in your life, build some momentum, stack some wins, start to develop some compound interest so that you can enter 2026 in January with a bit more momentum than you normally do. Normally we're licking our wounds heading into the first of the year. We used that last week, just like you may have used part of the last 3, 4, 5 days to reflect and recharge a little bit and feel like you have some time to yourself. And it's just such a recurring theme of a lot of the content that I produce because it's just something I hear so often during not only these busy seasons like the holidays, like we're in right now, but also, the entire year. I mean, let's be honest. When is the year not busy? When is there really more than a week or so of the year where you don't feel like you're stretched, where you don't feel like you have too much to do? And that's part of what I want to talk about this week during this brief message is this notion of, our circumstances. And because it's the holiday season and there may be some excess alcohol flowing here and there during times, maybe there was over the last few days, maybe your liver needs a detox because of what you did to it over the course of the last 4 or 5 days. And it may actually be under duress over the next 30 plus days. I thought about this concept of being drunk because a lot of us will be, for better or worse, maybe over the previous couple of weeks and probably over the following or the next few weeks. So this concept of like being drunk on your own circumstances is what I've been thinking about, because so often I talk to people and they are just so in love with their story, and so much so that I've put a little message on some pens that I had printed, and this is something that I got from a good friend of mine, Charlie Smith, he's trademarked all this, so don't go taking all this stuff and run with it like it's my idea. But he talks about his pen, your pen. Everyone has their own pen, right? And I don't know if his particular tagline, a specific tagline is my pen, my life, but it's something to that sorts. And so I remind myself by putting that on a pen for me so that I can see it. And what I write after that, or what I wrote after that, is start writing. And the key here for everyone that I want you to understand is that we all have circumstances. We all have things in our lives that feel unique to us. And some of them, make no mistake, they are very unique. You have very unique problems that you're dealing with. You have these events that come up that feel like they are 5-alarm fires. Some of them are. I'm not discounting that. But many times, the things that hold us back, the things that we feel like cause the most amount of chaos, at least the consistent chaos. I'm talking more, right? I'm not talking about that like one-off thing, a family member has a health scare or somebody unfortunately dies, or whatever, something like that. I'm talking about these like recurring chaotic environments that we find ourselves in. We mistake that for being this unmovable obstacle, this roadblock that there's no detour for. And messages like this one that Charlie planted in my head and that I now use, inside of my own life and the lives with my clients, is that you're the author of your story. You get to write the next sentence, the next chapter, the next series of books. Our lives are your life is a Harry Potter series, maybe with a little bit less creativity and magic. Hopefully a ton of creativity and magic. But what we oftentimes don't realize is that we are the author. We are the main character. We are the director. We are the film crew. We're all of it in one for our own lives. And we have the ability at any moment to pick up our pen in air quotes, or literally, and write a new story for ourselves. Write a new version of what's going to happen. And that's something that I made the mistake of not understanding for 15 years. I mean, like really seriously for 5 to 10, but for probably unconsciously for 5 or so of those years. And then absolutely for 5 to 10, just not being aware that I had the capability of doing this. I was in love with my story. And for those of you who don't know, my story is someone who was an athlete in college. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'6", 230-ish pounds. Body was pretty beaten up after a long athletic career and went right into a sedentary lifestyle that also one was that required you to beat your body up a little bit physically from alcohol consumption, drug consumption, poor food quality consumption, late nights, lack of sleep, all those things, work grind, all those things I did to myself over the course of 15 years, some knowingly, some unknowingly. And I developed this story around those circumstances for my life, in that I had to do this. This was the cost of doing business. This is the price I had to pay in order to achieve the success that I did in my career. I was a big guy. I just mentioned, I was an athlete. I was a basketball player. I'm supposed to be banged up. I'm supposed to feel like shit. You see ex-athletes all the time on TV and they're sort of limping around and they have these injuries and they look like sort of a shell of their prime selves. And so I kind of like thought that like that was my destiny. I would look around the environments that I was working in, and most of the people that I admired from a success standpoint, like making millions of dollars, super successful, big houses, multiple country clubs, like I wanted that stuff. Most of them were unbelievably unhealthy. They were out of shape. They had poor habits. They may or may not have, I don't know, had shitty marriages. They were not models for me outside the office, or at least what I know now. They would not be models for me outside the office. And honestly, what I know now, they wouldn't be models for me inside the office, because I know that there's a better way now. And I thought that was my destiny. I thought that like that was who I needed to become in order to achieve a certain amount of success. And so that was the story that I ran for a really long time. That was my operating system, if you want to talk about this from the perspective of technology, of our phones, of our computers. That was the system that I was running. And for those of us who understand operating systems, I don't that well, but for those of us who do, you realize that like if you overlay that, like I think about this from the perspective of like, if I prompt AI, ChatGPT, to give me certain feedback based on a lot of different criteria. So I'm going to put into ChatGPT all these things that I now know about myself, who I work with, my voice, my history, my family, my client avatar. It's going to spit out suggestions, content suggestions, and help me answer questions, things that I'm struggling with in my life, based on that framework, that context, as we call it. Those are another words for operating system. If your context, if your operating system, if your framework is around someone who is just meant to deal with these circumstances, then you're never going to be able to break free of this chaotic loop that you find yourself in. Yes, there's going to be moments of time where you have the stars align, things quiet down, maybe you catch a little bit of motivation. Everyone's going to get a little bit motivated at the end of December into January, right, to do something about their lives. We all know what's going to happen. The stats are undeniable. You're going to fall off. Most likely when you fall off, you'll try to get back on, you'll fall off again, and then you'll sort of just be like, this is not possible. This isn't, this doesn't work for me. And I just I have so much, I have trouble with this because I dealt with it for so long. And so from some from some perspectives, I get it. I totally get it. I get where you're at. I get what you feel. I get that you truly believe that you don't have another way. And then here I am sitting talking into this camera knowing that there's a better way. Knowing that there's a way that I applied it to my life and a way that I've now helped hundreds of other people apply it to their own. Currently 58 people inside of my program, multiple organizations that I've worked with this year. Over 100 people that I've worked with in the past 12 months, hundreds of people that I've worked with in the past 5 to 6 years have all realized that there is another way. And they were just as drunk as you. They were just as drunk as I was. For a really long time, they just felt like it's something that they had to deal with. And so I like to think about, ultimately, what is the story that I'm telling myself about this? And can I audit that story? Can I come in and grab the pen and be the author of that story? If you don't like the story, you need to come in and change the next sentence, right? You need to change your narrative around it. Your circumstances that you are drunk on are not the problem. Your habits, your actions, your decisions, inside of them are. People who really win, people who change their life despite all the things they have going on, they don't do it because their circumstances change. They change in spite of, right? Your stress, your schedule, your chaotic life, your travel, your bouncing around between being a businessman, a husband, and a father. None of those are the reasons you can't be elite. It's the reason you have to be. You have to be in order to serve all those other areas of your life, because I know that you care, quite frankly, you care about them more than you care about being an elite financial professional, business professional. And as I mentioned maybe in the intro, I'm not even sure, we get drunk too much, we get hangovers. Being drunk on your circumstances leads to a similar hangover as being drunk on too much alcohol during this holiday season. Being drunk on your circumstances leads to burnout. It leads to stress. It leads to weight gain. It leads to distance in your marriage. It leads to kids you don't have the connection that you would like with. Maybe think about sobriety in this context as taking ownership of those circumstances. And as soon as you take ownership of the circumstances, things get simple. They don't get easy, but things get simple. You either do or do not, as Yoda said. You do not try. You stop trying. I'm like a wrestler on the top turnbuckle, waiting for one of my clients to say the word try. on a phone call because I immediately jump off that top rope and I bring the thunder coming down on them. We don't try. We do. We either do or we do not. Right? That is a mindset that you need to adapt if you're ever going to sober up from this drunken stupor that you have, that you are in, that you're mesmerized by. I get it. I totally get it. Believe me. I was mesmerized by my own circumstances for 15 years. 15 years. And the only way I was able to prove that wrong is to start to develop new evidence. New evidence to suggest that there is a better way. There is another way. And it's not just the way that I believed for so long. So the things that you need to do in order to improve areas of your life are pretty simple. If we're talking like health and fitness, you need to walk more, eat more protein, eat more real food, get to sleep more, drink more water. If we're talking about relationships, you need to connect more, like actively, proactively connect. Schedule date nights, leave notes, bring home flowers, acts of service, do little things around the house that you know your wife appreciates. You need to actually communicate, not just when you want something. And people struggle with this because they know what they know. They've done what they've done. And I've always said this, and I'll continue to say it. Part of you is very right. I'm not arguing at that part. You have evidence to suggest that some of the ways you've approached your life for the last 20 years has been very successful. I cannot argue with that. I can't argue with the material things you have, the success you've created in your career. But I know that it's colliding with things you want in your personal life, how you want to show up outside the office, how maybe you want to look and feel, how you want to show up in your marriage, how you want your wife to show up with you. Maybe the time that you have for personal relationships outside the office, because those just get completely abandoned because you have to work and then you have to spend as much time as possible being a husband and a father. And your circumstances are not going to change. You have to change first. You have to change first. Ultimately, those circumstances will bend when you do. Not for a while. But when you do, they will. So I want to, it's December 1st, it's the time of this recording, so it's December 1st, 2025. I turned 48 in 1 week. 1 week from today, I turned 48. 30 days-ish from now, it'll be a new year, and we'll turn over the calendar, and a bunch of people will make a lot of declarations. Jesus. We're just going to keep moving. A lot of people are going to declare that they are going to do something different. That's better, Brian. And you may too. And while I know that those will all be well-intended, and everybody will rag on New Year's resolutions, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that you may decide that you want to make some changes in your life. But what I want you to do is I want you to take action on them today. Because if you wait, if you tell yourself there's a reason why, it doesn't mean that you're not going to start. I do believe that you're going to start. I do believe that you care. I do believe that you actually want to take some action. But what you're doing, if you wait, is you're telling yourself that there is a more important reason to not do it. And here's what's going to happen, because it always happens. Whatever this more important reason is right now, and it's probably the busyness and the chaos and the year end and all the bullshit stuff that I talked about last week that we say, drinking from a fire hose and all those stupid phrases that corporate America loves to make up to make them feel more important than they really are. When I say they, I mean me. I'm still part of it. I'm part of the problem. I'm trying to be part of the solution, but I've been part of the problem for too damn long. What you're saying to yourself is that there's something else that takes precedence over these goals that you have, this desire that you have, somewhere deep down, you have this desire. If you ever feel, I told my clients this recently, if you ever feel shame or regret, all right? If you feel regret, you have broken a promise to yourself. Now, you may not be, you may be unclear on what that is, but if you feel regret over decisions that you've made in the past, there is a misalignment between what you are doing and what you ultimately want. Please listen to that. That is something deep down inside of you telling you that there is another life that you should be living. A shame around some actions that you have, or you may be not living up to somebody else's standards around you, which is also important because that helps you be accountable. But if you do experience regret, that's what it is. It's what it is. Listen to it. Most of the times, people do what I did, which is they have this moment of regret. They don't feel so good about themselves, and then they allow it to dull. And as I've always mentioned, time kills all trades. And the longer we wait to take action on that feeling, the more it dulls, the more we just push it aside, and we just go about our business. Because something else fresh pops up in its way and makes it feel more important. And so by waiting, you are admitting to yourself that there's something that's more important. So what will happen some point, maybe you'll have a great January. I really do hope that. But at some point in 2026, it might be the first week of January, it might be this third week of February. I don't know when. But proverbial Mike Tyson is going to show up and is going to start punching you right in the face. And the plan that you thought you had is going to go out the window because you based it on there being a random, I was even going to say a particular, it's completely random. We've just decided as a society that it's okay to put things off until a certain period of time, i.e. the turning of the calendar. And because you've decided that something takes precedence over what it is that you want right now, the new thing that comes in, the new fire, the new chaos, the new stress, the new unknown is just going to take its place. And so therefore, since your foundation was one of this can wait, something else will come in and it'll just replace the reason why it can wait right now, and you'll be right back where you were. And that's what happens. We live the same 3 to 6 months in our lives over and over and over and over again. And it's sad. And I did the same damn thing for 15 years, and I just don't want people to do it anymore. So here's what I am proposing for a few people, because I realize that a lot of people are going to listen to this and most people are going to do nothing. And that's why your life will not change. Because it's in the action. It's not in the listening, the consumption of this podcast, the consumption of books, the listening to the endless amounts of Instagram reels, LinkedIn content that we get fed to us, just flicking our lives away, sometimes with good meaning, seeing some, some motivational stuff pop up. Yeah, that was good. Let me flick again. Just flicking our lives away with our fingers, as opposed to doing something about it. And so for a few people, and I know there's only going to be a few, because this is how it always works. It always works. Only a few people are actually willing to do this stuff, which is why only a few people in our society have the results that we all look at and say, I wish I could do that. Deep down, I wish I could do that. I don't know why they have it and I don't, but I wish they could. I wish I could. And then you go right back to being drunk on your circumstances. So for a few people that will do it, you can either email me at brian@thesuccesslift.com, or you can text me at 917-709-4283. I'm going to give a few people access to what it's like to be coached by me in my program for the entire month of December, actually into the first week of January, January 5th. So from today, or whenever you hear this, until January 5th, you can work with me for free. There are some things I will explain, some parameters around that, but effectively, you work with me for free. You get access to all my client resources. You get onboarded into my private app where you get customized advice built for your unique lifestyle. And I treat you just like I treat everybody else who's paying me a lot of money. This is hopefully the catalyst for a few people to take some action. Because what is the easy thing to do right now is just to punt. Because it's like, I get it. You start something, you are motivated, but like the reality is it's going to be a little bit of a tough season for the next 30 days. There's going to be a dozen events that you're going to struggle with, or maybe struggle with, and not feel like that you want to waste your money today and not get off to a hot start. Because every time we start something, we pay a decent amount of money. We want to get off to a good start. We want that momentum. That's why people wait till January 1st. I get it. I've already told you why that's flawed, so I won't do that now. So like, let's just remove that roadblock. It's like, if you're going to start something on January 1st, fucking start it now. Like right now, start it now. Text me right now. Email me right now. Or don't do either of those two things and just do what you're supposed to do. Especially if you think you know what to do. I would argue you don't exactly know what to do. But if you do, go do it. But this removes that roadblock, because that is the main one for people right now. So that one has been picked up, moved off the road. You are now able to drive at full speed. And so for anyone who is interested in this, again, it's only going to be a few people. I'm capping it at a few people, but I know it's only going to be a few, because most people do nothing. You're going to thank you for consuming this podcast, but you're going to turn it off and go back to your life. And then hopefully next week you're going to listen to me again. And maybe you're going to listen to me week after week after week, or maybe you're going to miss a few weeks, and maybe you're going to be on my email daily and you're going to get my messages. And then you're going to do nothing with it, because that's what most of us do. Because that's what's easy to do. And I don't want you to do that. So I want to make it as easy as possible. And so again, send me an email, brian@thesuccesslift.com. Shoot me a text. We'll have a brief conversation. I'll send you the details. If you want to get to work, you can get to work. What I will promise you is that if you do get to work, now until the end of the year, you will enter January with far more momentum than you normally would. You will have a far better experience in January. You will have much more success. You will carry that success and that momentum into February and beyond. And your 2026 will look largely different than it would if you waited. I promise you that. I appreciate you. I'm wishing you an amazing holiday season. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you back here next week.